thought you bottled it, little man.
Forgot my phone.
Your ma used to swell with pride over her sweet, kind boy.
I said run.
And look at you now. What happened to Ma's angel?
What the hell are you doing?
I'm not even a policeman.
Do you know how messed up that is? A drug dealer with a moral code.
Look, I said stop following me.
Look, the reason I searched the guy is because he's 16 to 30, operating in an area known for dealing.
You're unbelievable.
Please don't claim you're crazy.
I ain't scared of you or no one.
We're adding new titles every day to our awesome collection of blockbuster movies, from Hollywood to Nollywood. Download the app and subscribe. This isn't just a streaming channel. This is a bold new world of entertainment. Arise Play. Beyond streaming.
Knowledge is power. Information is currency. Trust us to tell you what you need to hear. Welcome to the program. You're with Arise News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Breaking news, exclusive interviews, unrivaled analysis. It's you, the audience, who drives our agenda. We tell the stories that inform you, the stories that are important to you, and the stories that are about you. We are not every news channel. We are Arise News.
One planet, our world.
200 countries, 500 cities of over 1 million.
8 billion people with your own story every day, every news day. We make sense of all the noise because you need to know what's important for you, your family, your business, and how it affects your story. Breaking news, the top stories,
all the sports updates as they come in,
and the very latest entertainment news from Nigeria and the world. Our stories are your story.
From our headquarters in Lagos, Arise Newsday for 3 hours every day.
Make every day a news day.
This week, 60 minutes of analytical review of the big stories, topical issues, and all the controversies around the world. I'm Sandra Sambo. We'll move on to the headlines. But the judge says PDP may lose 2023 presidential election as Atiku Abubakar embarks on reconciliatory visit to Southwest with campaign management team announced. And federal government rewards Nigerian athletes for making the nation proud at the just concluded Commonwealth Games with national honors. Plus, in other stories, newly inaugurated Kenyan President William Ruto has deleted a tweet revoking the country's recognition of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic as an independent state after a major gaffe. Very warm welcome to the program. Now, a former deputy national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, but the judge says the party may lose the presidential election if the grievances of members in the southern part of the country are not immediately addressed. Judge says the emergence of Atiku Abubakar as the party's presidential candidate, as well as Yocha Ayu's position as national chairman, has altered the arrangement of equity which the founding fathers labored hard to put in place. He's calling on Ayu to resign before election campaigns begin on September 28th. Now, the call is coming after the release of a list of officials to lead the National Campaign Management Council of the party, with Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel as chairman and Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal as Director General. Well, to help us make sense of all of this, we've assembled two experts in political analysis to help us have an insight into what exactly is happening in Nigeria's major opposition. Professor Jide Ofo-Adibe is of the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Nasarawa State University, Kefi. And of course, we have Yusuf Olanionu, who's a renowned editor and former presidential advisor on media to former president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Let's start with you, Yusuf Olanionu. In the midst of this, we've seen Atiku going on a shuttle diplomacy to the southwest of the country, trying to appease people in that part of the country. Governor Seyi Makinde insisted that Ayu must go. Olabode George is insisting on that again. The southwest are saying that if Atiku doesn't do something, the PDP doesn't do something, it looks like the party may not have anything to campaign against the likes of Tinubu, who comes from the region, in that part of the country. What do you make of these continued calls and, of course, the composition of the National Campaign Management Council of the PDP again, with Governor Udom Emmanuel coming from the south-south as chairman and Aminu Tambuwal coming from the north as the Director General?
Well, you know, politics is a game of interest, and every politician actually should represent the interest of his or her zone. The southwest position that the current chairman of the PDP should resign, and perhaps somebody from that zone should become the chairman, I think is not misplaced. I think they are fighting for the interest of their zone. And if you remember, when the PDP resolved the crisis arising from the Mudu Sharif saga and McCarthy's interim administration, the party actually zoned the national chairmanship to the southwest. It was Governor Onyesom Wike who turned everything around because of his muzzle and said it was not southwest specifically that he zoned it to, it was south. And then he went and sponsored Uche Secondus.
Yeah, I remember, but the judge contested that.
Yes, and at one point, all of them even withdrew. In the southwest, they now withdrew and rallied behind one candidate, Professor Adeniro.
Yes.
And it was as a result of that decision to now still take it to south-south that Professor Adeniro left PDP. And yes, a foundation member, and then he went to SDP, and now he says he's no longer in politics. So if the southwest is saying that now Ayu should resign, and somebody from that zone, I think it's not a demand that is out of the way. Then again, you have to also look at the fact that when Ayu was going to become the chairman of the party, there are even video clips of where he said if the presidential candidate emerged from the north, then he will be ready to resign. I think it's now that the goalposts are being shifted and he's now talking of the resignation will take place after the election. I think that that party, I was one of the reporters who covered the events that led to the formation of the party, all the various meetings that led to the party, and I was there the day the party was launched. And one of the things they've always said is that we are building a broad umbrella that will take every Nigerian. And that was why they integrated zoning and you know, power shift and the rest of it into their constitution. So you now have a situation where the national chairman of the party and the presidential candidate of the party are from the same section of the country.
Including the DG now.
Yes, yes, now including the director general of the campaign now. I think that the PDP is not only departing from the tradition of the party, it's also taking decisions that are at variance with the provisions of the constitution of the party. And I think that Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, who is now the leader of the party officially, the leader of the party, and has also been a member, a foundation member of the party, though he's left and come back.
Sorry, is he supposed to be the leader of the party just because he has the presidential ticket? Or it's supposed to be the national chairman who is the leader of the party at the moment? No, if we're to follow constitutional democracy.
No, really the presidential candidate of the party is the standard bearer of the party. He's the leader of the party. If he becomes the president, he will decide who
I thought
it
was when he becomes the president.
Even now. So if not, why do you think Governor Seyi Makinde is taking the case to him?
Well, apparently we have a problem with our democracy.
Yes, because he knows that his voice, his opinion, his interest matters in this. If he decides that, okay, I don't want this chairman to pilot my campaign, or I think that in the interest of this party or in the interest of my candidacy, it's good for this chairman to step down, he will find a way to get the chairman to step down. All
right, let's bring you in, Prof, in this developing issues that we keep having and how, our democracy just keeps having problems. People in positions becoming stronger than what they had agreed to in the constitution of such institutions, organizations, or party in this instance. Now, Ayu has said that in that statement, I interviewed him here at Arise. He had said that he would resign if the party asks him to resign by the time if a presidential candidate comes from the same north where he comes from and all of that. In this instance, we are seeing the Southwest asking that he should go. Isn't it selfish for the Southwest asking for this? And isn't it a quest for justice at the same time for the Southwest, seeing that they almost don't have anything to cling to except the position of the Deputy National Chairman South, which Ambassador Taufik Arakbaja is holding at the moment. Do you think that this politics can hurt the PDP, especially if Ayu steps down now that it's very close to the election due to these constant demands that are being made?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, let me say that what you get among the politicians is what you can call hypocrisy incorporated. Hypocrisy incorporated in the sense that when it suits anybody, you use the mantra of equity, justice, and fairness, as you hide under it to promote your own agenda. Let me support what my brother said. The time of Wike in 2018, when they were, the Southwest felt it was right and justly so.
2017.
2018.
Oh,
2018.
Okay.
And that was the reason why the former education minister, left. And the accusation against them, Jerry Ghana and others joined, was that Nyesom Wike had hijacked the party because he propped up Secondus. And now you can see that what goes around comes around. He is now using that same mantra, the same veneer of justice, equity, and fairness to do his own battle, and he resonates with everyone. So why do I say it's hypocrisy incorporated? If you look at, say, even expanding it to when they talked about, now Wike is saying presidency, it ought to have come to the South. But he wants to run. Jonathan from the South had just, you know, finished the term. It was the last president under the PDP. If you justice, equity, and fairness, should he go to the South side? That's also what happened with Akeredolu when he was talking about Southern governors. After a while, people felt there was a little hypocrisy there. Why didn't you say precisely should go to the zone that hasn't got it, which is the Southeast?
In the South.
In the Southeast. Now, if you think the Southeast, look, this is really in a bastion of people looking for justice. You look at some politicians there who have been doing the clamoring. The former minority senate leader, Abaribe. So they went to remove a governor, and the zoning didn't favor them. This just like PDP was trying to do. You contrive another kind of logic to make yourself fit in. So in the end, what you have is hypocrisy all over the world. But let me say this. I'm very, very surprised that the PDP is making this argument that it is only after it has won that it will look at redistributing. For a party that knows that one of the accusations against the current government is that it has mismanaged diversity. And already people are a little skeptical and raising questions on why somebody from the north, the Muslim from the flower, the Fulani from the north, should succeed another person. That should have been the more reason why you should be very cautious to seem as, you know, people are already very revolted.
Yeah, man, the voters are there waiting
for you,
for
and
the
then
itself.
for you not even to know that these optics will affect your own campaign. It's just because we know Atiku as a very liberal man. Why? Okay, he has come a long way with IU from the time of Patriotic Front to the time he went to ACN.
Yes.
So, and he was elected by consensus. So if the wicked and we are very smart, they would have known that there was no way he would not pave the way for somebody who has been steady alive for a long time. But why are we not just so... we can articulate sentiments that resonate with the people, but in the final analysis, it is about him and about the political class.
All right, and I come back to you, Yusuf. Why are these demands going to Atiku Abubakar when Ayu was elected? I mean, he was elected. So are they saying that Atiku should sort of use this overwhelming influence to force Ayu to exit? Isn't there a constitutional procedure for removal of a national chairman? Why isn't, or does it look like they have discovered that Ayu has decided that he won't resign? That's why the pressure has now shifted to Atiku. Because if you were in Ayu's shoes and you have a vote of confidence by the National Executive Council, what would make you to resign?
So now, you know, you have even answered the question for me. I will take your latter proposition. That see, it's obvious Ayu is not going to willingly resign. It's obvious he's determined to see this thing through. And it's obvious that if you follow the constitution of the party, constitutionality of the party, he will remain there for 5 years. I mean, he said he was elected for 5 years. Now he has spent only less than 1 year. So that's why they are shifting pressure on Atiku. And you see that in my last, when I before you, in the first question, when I was responding to the first question, I said, Atiku is the standard bearer of the party. He's the leader, unofficial leader, the de facto leader of the party. Ayu is just the jury leader of the party. So that's why everybody is looking towards him. And you know, the impact of how they resolve all this crisis is Atiku that will either get the benefit or the short end of it. If today, one of the surest zones of PDP is in the south. In fact, when the governors are demanding that the thing should be zoned to the south, PDP believe that the the southeast and the south, the two zones, those are zones that usually give more votes to PDP and consistently too. And that's why, like Prof said, they are now raising the issue of equity justice, though individuals, as Prof said, and I agree with him, are using it because it suits.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, exactly, their own purpose now. But, you know, Atiku is the one who has to take a decision. And from his body language, you can see that he seems to have decided that maybe you should see him through the election. And that's why he's saying we have to follow the constitution. If you follow the constitution, it won't happen. In any case, if you follow the constitution, even if you force you out and you are still following the constitution, another person from the north.
In fact, from the north.
That's Damagun.
Yes, Damagun
exactly.
comes from the same northeast where Atiku is from.
Is the one that will become the acting national chairman. So you see that you can't follow the constitution stricto sensus. I mean, but PDP, this is their chance. They have a chance to take out APC. It depends on how they manage the sentiment of the people, how they manage the internal cohesion within their own party, how they put out their message.
Yeah, but sorry to just interject here. With the announcement of the National Campaign Management Council now, do you think Atiku has moved beyond Wike, moved beyond the calls by all these other people? Because, I mean, with this composition now, Wike is just a member in it and all of that. Doesn't it look like Atiku has already said, look, I've gone beyond this, I've moved ahead, I've pleaded with you guys, you are not listening. But when you hear calls from Bode George, despite the announcement of this campaign council, again, you would want to wonder, what can Atiku do any longer? It looks like all the positions that need to be shared have already been shared.
Yes, that is true. But I also believe that this position that he's taking, he ought to have taken a long time ago. I mean,
to call the bluff of Wike and his guys.
The presidential candidate. I mean, I don't have his experience. I don't have the number of years. I don't know politics as much as he is. He's credited, I mean, as one of the most strategic, politicians in this country. But you see, I should have thought that immediately after he won the presidential ticket, he should have envisaged the fact that he will have this problem with Wike and his group, and he should have dealt with it immediately. Deal with it, and there are two options. Is either you are going to call the bluff of the guy, and you do it right from the word go, so you don't give him the chance to think he can hold you to ransom. Or you pacify him and you give him the options of the offers you want to make to him. So that is clear, I'm going to pacify you, but these are the options. So you deal with that from the beginning. But they allowed this thing to linger, to fester, for Wike to, perfect the act of catching crews, and they now use now with the party and the candidate. Today he will commission a project, he will call Egbajabi Amila from the opposition, and they will run immediately. They will start knocking their heads together immediately and approach him. Tomorrow he will meet a Tinubu in London or meet an Obi. They shouldn't have allowed all that to happen. They should have dealt with it immediately.
All right, that's a very good point. Now, Prof, let me ask you one question. I asked one of the spokesmen of the Atiku campaign organization during the week. Aren't the PDP guys distracting the polity at the moment? I mean, because these are internal party issues. Nigerians are waiting for the message on what they would do for them and not waiting to talk about internal party issues. But here we are, for example, as broadcasters devoting this time because we just have to let people know what is going on in the party. Isn't it time for us to move beyond all of this? And do you think that's what the candidate Atiku Abubakar is aiming at by just going ahead to make this announcement, whether Wike agrees to his appointment of a DG and chairman or not?
Well, this is also part of it. Politics is a noisy enterprise. And in fact, they say campaign, by its definition, is a war without weapons. So this is also symbolic speech. The way he manages the crisis also tells you a lot about the way he will manage the crisis when he becomes, or if he becomes the president. That's why, for example, I'm a little concerned that at a point in our own, existence where we are concerned about, inclusivity, managing diversity and all this, that PDP fails to see the point Wike and others are raising, even if they are raising them out of selfishness, of their own destiny. Yes, the Constitution, you're right, the Constitution says if IU resigns, the next from the same zone, the deputy will succeed. But the same Constitution was breached about rotation. And they said, well, the issue is that everybody has got a form now. Yeah. Which I think was ab initio or something planned.
Sort of a doctrine of necessity.
Yeah. So if they could do that, you can find an interim. And I believe strongly that Atiku has big leverage over you. They've been together for donkey years. Yeah. So also one other thing is that they may have calculated that with Buhari not in the ballots, they have the nuts in the pocket. But it is a big mistake for a PDP to think that, oh, Southeast, for example, will always be there because it's a traditional thing. The whole idea, the sentiment in the Southeast, at least, is that these people took us for granted. So I will not be surprised if PDP gets less than 25%. I won't be surprised at all. Or if maybe the turnout to be so low, because they felt like stabbed on the back.
Yeah, but Governor Wike, sorry if I may come in, Governor Wike had said that Atiku Abubakar and the PDP seem to have been promised something by someone in the presidential villa in the APC-led federal government. Don't you think that they are also banking on that?
No, it's possible, but there's also a narrative, I suppose, from the PDP, a faction or a tendency within the PDP that tries to use innuendo to counter Wike by arguing that actually, Atiku did not want to run in this time around. Atiku actually wanted to support, that's the narrative, wanted to support P2B. And then Tambuwal was rooting for former Senate President Anyam. That it was only when they saw that Wike wanted to come and hijack the process that Atiku then teamed up with Okowa. This will resonate. Yeah. We would then say there will be an excuse, okay, now we can forgive you for doing that. Because the truth is that a number of political actors from that Southeast are not happy with people from the Wike. They are not happy they are not happy with Credolo.
So if we really wanted justice, yes, like they are saying,
going to the Southeast.
Should he have come out to actually contest when Jonathan was just president from the South? Like
so you see that the fact now that I don't know if you got that narrative. So by floating that narrative, it is, look, I didn't really want to contest. I just came to checkmate Wike. And because I am going to, then raises the question. And you can see, I also picked another Igbo for you to know that I'm with
but in all of this, Yusuf, has PDP not been demarketing itself in the midst of this Wike war, just like you said, having allowed this to fester? Because, I mean, you've now seen some of these Wike and his team looking like, I mean, they are campaigning against the party. Look at what Bode just said, that if PDP is not careful, it's going to lose the election. Isn't it, I mean, looking like they are demarketing their own brand?
You know that PDP is lucky. And I think the entire, both PDP and APC and the rest of them, they are lucky that, you know, for the first time in this country, you have 9 months between when the candidates emerged and when we Nigerians will go to the polls to decide on which candidate to vote for. And 9 months is a lot of time in politics. So that's why they can afford to continue to start from June on this fight, July, August, September, and maybe October now they will face they will face the real issue of campaigns. I think because 28th. Yes, exactly, because the time is there. I mean, they can afford to do some of these things that they are doing in both parties. You see that PDP is just very loud. APC also has its own internal contradictions and problems.
All right, we have to go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation on other issues that are happening within the country. We had President Buhari honoring Nigerian athletes to the tune of 200 million naira and, of course, providing national honors for them during the week. So when we come back from the break, we'll talk about this. Stay with us.
I just want flex, don't need stress in my life. Avoid the yawa, I no want queue for the bank. Sharp, sharp, I don't open an account. Digital bank, we get the power now vote. I pay my bills easily, I'm running things like a boss. Collect a loan with no collateral. Vote is the answer. Vote is the way. Vote is the answer. From Polaris Bank. Vote is the answer. Vote is the way.
Take control. Download Volt by Polaris Bank. That's V-U-L-T-E. Visit the Google Play Store or Apple Store now. Volt is available to Polaris and non-Polaris Bank customers. Volt by Polaris Bank.
When we wanted to move faster and see more of the world, we found a way. We also found ways to connect beyond boundaries. And when an unprecedented pandemic tried to derail us, we found ways to get ahead.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Ready.
Ready. Ready.
As your bank, we have stayed proactive, creating dynamic solutions and leveraging cutting-edge technology to drive global expansion into new markets. We rolled up our sleeves to be human together, doing more, innovating smarter, and always showing up for you. So come on board, let's give you more.
Access, more than banking.
There's no other animal as courageous and majestic as the lion. But with only 50 lions left in Nigeria, they may soon just be a memory. When snares are used for bushmeat, we rob the lions of their food and risk maiming them for life. So please say no to illegal bushmeat and help protect the lions. Keep them wild and keep us safe.
Here's a card we no go give you stress at all. Zero wait and zero queue. First banking petrol card. Here's a card we no go give you wahala. Zero trouble now for you. First banking petrol card. Tell off spoiler. Who won't break 'em? Where you want say 'em? Now only you get 'em. Nothing fit do 'em. Sharp, sharp payment. Swipe they go, you know go away. Veteran card with the sweet body. Veteran card with no the shame person. We put you first again. First banking veteran card, we put you first again. Generate your virtual card, we put you first again. First banking virtual card, we put you first again. Just generate your virtual card. Hey.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching This Week, and I'm Somna Sambo. Of course, I still have with me here Professor Jideofor Adibe, who's of the Political Science Department of Nasarawa State University, helping us to understand the issues here. And of course, Yusuf Olanyono, who's a renowned newspaper editor and former media advisor to the President of the Nigerian Senate, Bukola Saraki. Thank you so much for still being with us. Now, as we try to round off this conversation, Yusuf, what does the Southwest want in the PDP? A position in government if the party wins, or a position in the party? Because Bode George keeps saying that, look, we need something within the party, and if we don't have it now, how can we go to the electorate and say, please elect our presidential candidate, when there's someone from the other party who comes from the Southwest and he's saying that, look, I have a presidential ticket. So in all of this, he's saying that it's a matter of justice, that if you flip it round and the South has the presidential candidate, the national chairman, director general of the campaign, that can they not accept such a thing? What do you make of all
chairman
this
of the
kind
Governors Forum?
And chairman of Governors Forum, doubles. Can they not accept that?
Yeah, I know. You asked me what the Southwest wants, whether they should take something before the coming in into
that's if they win.
President, if they win.
Yeah.
If they win. You see, at every point you need to be represented. If you don't have somebody within the party hierarchy, a very top person within the party hierarchy now, when the government is about to be formed, who will speak for you?
What do we make of Deputy National Chairman, Ambassador Taufik Arakbaja?
Yeah, because the North that has presidential candidate, that has a chairman, also has a Deputy National Chairman. So that's their own calculation. That's why they are thinking that they should get something now. And in any case, you see, the Southwest, with their victory in Osun, they've shown that they can contribute to this party more. Where the presidential candidate comes from, how many governors do they have from that place? They have the governors of Taraba, governor Adamawa, Bauchi, just 3. The Southwest has 2 now with Osun. And imagine if PDP had lost in Osun. Will they be able to do what the young guy people now call Buga now?
Yes. So it's part of what's
exactly.
giving them ginger.
Yeah, exactly. For the Southwest, they are thinking that if we have developed Osun and we have increased from 1 governor to 2. Even the Southeast, that is a traditional PDP zone, has only 2 governors now. So the Southwest has upped their own to 2. So that's one of the inspiration they are getting. And they are thinking that, give us this now. And in any case, if we can make so much noise and get this, it means that we are big enough to get something bigger when the government is about to be formed. I think that's their own calculation in the Southwest. And I think Vice President former Vice President Atiku, the president candidate of the PDP, must also take into consideration all this. You know, Prof keeps on mentioning something about the fact that one of the challenges the next president will have to face is about managing inclusivity, managing our diversity, showing that you are truly a president for all, and that there will be a departure from the complaints that one section of the country is favored. That symbolic show that I'm capable of doing that has to start from now, and I think that's what the Wike group, the Southwest people, are capitalizing on, and he has to manage it.
Yeah, I mean, because this same PDP accused the Buhari-led administration of being pro-North, nepotism and all of that, and in their party they have a North problem. So isn't it a situation about how politicians see issues different from the way masses see issues? Prof, as we try to round off this conversation on this topic, is it that the Southwest is also thinking that PDP may lose the election, so they want to grab something that they can hold on to before the result stares them at the face in the 2023 general election? What they can have at least and call DS before whatever happens at the election?
I don't think it's that. There is innate desire for people to feel justly treated. I don't think that. What I also see is that we are moving forward to the past. Forward to the past in the sense...
That's a controversial statement.
Forward to the past in the sense that we had a similar situation in 2008, 2014, when you had the new PDP. Exactly the same team, and people say, advise Jonathan to call their bluff. And Jonathan did. And immediately they moved to the APC, it became a game changer. So we have to be very careful the way we manage this. But having said this, I think what everybody has to be, mindful of, especially PDP, is that it has not positioned itself to capitalize on the politics of the same fate ticket. If it had just been able to position itself, people are now calling Northern People's Congress. If it has managed to do something different, then it will have the moral unction to attack the APC's same fate ticket. Now it doesn't have the moral anchor.
It's been weakened by that. Yeah. Oh my God. Very interesting indeed. All right. Well, I mean, one thing that keeps making me to think about this politically is that, you see, in the APC, the governing party, the president is from the North and the national chairman is from the North, just like we have in the PDP, but no one is saying anything about this. And it keeps me, being amazed how Nigerian politicians
people give up on the government.
Okay,
that is the truth.
We have to move on to other issues now. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved national honors and 200 million naira in cash awards for Team Nigeria contingent to the 2022 Commonwealth Games and World Athletics Championships. Speaking at the presidential reception held at the State House in Abuja in honor of the athletes, President Buhari said his government remains committed to rewarding excellence, and Team Nigeria, who ignited the spirit of victory in the nation through its stellar performances at the international competitions, will continue to enjoy the support of the government. Well, let's listen and watch that visual.
12 is the number of gold medals won by Team Nigeria at the just concluded Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, a record since her first participation in 1950. This ensured Team Nigeria placed 7th on the medals table and 1st in Africa. It is this performance that has spurred the FG's decision to reward the athletes with cash gifts and some of the highest honors in the land. 4 athletes, including Oluwa Tobiloba Amuson, who set a world record at the Games, Ese Brume, Blessing Oburududu, and Oluwa Femiayo Folashade, were given a house gift in Abuja, the National Award of the Officer of the Order of the Niger, OON, and a sum of 4.5 million naira each for outstanding performances in international championships between 2021 and 2022. The remaining 7 other gold medalists were awarded the Member of the Order of the Niger, MON, and a sum of 4.5 million naira each. 9 silver medalists were given the sum of 2.5 million naira each, and the National Honor of the Federal Republic Medal 1, and the 18 bronze medalists 1.5 million naira each, and the National Honor of Federal Republic Medal 2. The officials also received various cash prizes.
Thank you so much. We still have in the studio Professor Jide Ofadibe, who is of the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Nasarawa State University, and Yusuf Olanionu, who is a renowned political editor and former presidential advisor on media to the former president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki. And I come to you, Yusuf. When you see athletes like this being rewarded, what comes to your mind? Does it still give you the feelings that there's hope in the country?
Well, when I see this kind of thing happening, the first thing I say is that, you see, we enjoy tapping from the sweat of others. And these athletes, somebody trained them up to this point. They won medal in the name of Nigeria, and now we are giving them 4.5 million or whatever million, and something that when they convert into dollars, because a lot of them are not here, they are not based here,
foreign-based
it amounts to nothing really. But yes, it's good, it's symbolic that you give them national honors, the president gives them handshake, they give them money. But you see, the sports minister and the president and others in charge of the management of our sports need to look at how do we create athletes that are trained from here. That how do we get the private sector to support these athletes? How will the government also provide the enabling environment for a lot of them to develop? See, these ones are just lucky that at one point in time, some foreign partners, some universities abroad, cited them somewhere and then invested in them, and then they are representing Nigeria. How about, millions of other boys and girls who don't have the opportunity of being cited or showcasing their skill before those who sponsor them, and government is not doing anything. Look at our football now. Almost all the people who are playing, they are playing abroad. A lot of Nigerians whose parents whose parents are based abroad, whose parents now even have the nationality of other countries, and because they couldn't qualify to play for those other countries, they would have even done all these age competitions in the name of maybe Britain or some other countries, when they can't get into the senior national team, they now think, oh, Nigeria is a shortcut to go into the World Cup. Then they now start playing for Nigeria. I mean, why? A lot of boys are here. Very soon now, we won't have those talents to export to those countries because they are not being grown from here. They are Oyinbo people who we are just we are just latching on them. We are just seizing them when they've been. So what we need to do is to develop a policy that will help us to develop people from here again. That will help us to develop footballers, athletes, and all of them from here again. I can't see why Nigeria is not doing well in swimming when you have all these Niger Delta rivers. I can't see why Nigeria is not doing well again in weightlifting. When before Akwa Ibom, you have Orokoyok and Co.
Yeah,
from Akwa Ibom, yes, and Cross Rivers. I can't see, before all this short distance competition, 100 meters, 200, 400, they were dominated by Nigeria before. Nigerians were the one dominated. It's no longer there.
Including some of those brothers, I mean, some of them were, I think
yes,
they were twins,
Chidimo and Co. A lot of them, yes, Ezinwa brothers.
Yeah, Ezinwa brothers.
There are so many of them. But where are they again? All the ones that you are seeing now are people who have the one opportunity of being poached by some American universities and Co. So we need, when I see this, I just look at it that, well, this is tokenism.
Okay.
We now have to develop a policy.
Tokenism, yes. Prof. Well, I know that the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, brought out a policy of adopt an athlete initiative where they get the private sector to help out in one way or the other. But let's look at this youth development. Sport is a vehicle for reducing youth's restiveness and all of that. Do you think that we can do more other than just tapping from the ones that have been trained by others for us? Like he has said, what more can we do in the midst of this joy which we share, with the athletes for being honored with national honors?
Okay, let me say that, Buhari has actually, in my opinion, done relatively well in terms of, fulfilling promises to make to sports people. I recall it was in 2016, the Junior Eagles, the under-17, who won the maiden edition of the FIFA.
In 1985.
In 1985, when Buhari, it was the same Buhari who actually fulfilled that promise in 20 years or so after. And last year, Clemens Westerhoff, who led who was the coach of the Super Eagles that won the Africa Cup of Nations in 1994. Yeah. It was only last year he got the keys to the houses they were promised at that time. And again, it was this regime. So it might, for me, the way the president said, it was not really a payment. And it was more like a symbolic gesture to encourage them. And also, whether people will move abroad, it's like an osmotic process. Once you show your talent here, you know there are opportunities abound. If you look at Tobi Amusan, for example, she got a scholarship. But because if you demonstrate some talent, people will always move. In the time of Odegbami and the Christian Chuku, there was not that opportunity, so they didn't go abroad.
Yeah.
But these days,
it was for the passion that time,
anybody,
not for money.
because it wasn't there. Anybody playing in the local league now is actually doing that, hoping that talent hunters will discover him or her. Because the ultimate is to go there and make it big and come back. You can still play for your nation. So I think it was a very well thing done. I mean, there are three things I think the Buhari government has done relatively well, even though I believe it has completely mismanaged our diversity. It has done very well, in my own opinion, in terms of personal diplomacy, getting all those key strategic appointments for Nigerians abroad. I think it has done relatively well in infrastructure, and I think it's done relatively well in this post period, in terms
but
of...
How do we bring a broad-based policy, like I said, to ensure that more young people are given opportunities
there's a lot of
to
room.
Take them away from all of this? When I see some people running to sell gala on the streets during traffic, I wonder what they will be doing if they are put in the proper place.
There are a number of private academies now, and I think they have also reclassified sports from being a recreation to a business. So I think private individuals will, with time, especially these academies, see the potential. In fact, many people now going to own football clubs are not doing it because they are seeing it as a business. You nurture some players that you have to go get to the Premier League and then be able to sell some of your own players as business. Yeah. So in that way, they can also play a role.
Yeah, and Yusuf, just before we move on to the next story, Toby Amusan, she actually comes from Ogun State, I mean your own home state, and see how she's brought lots of glory to the country. I mean, everybody just kept, you know, feeling so happy after all those records, breaking it over and over. How do you think that, I mean, you're a former commissioner yourself in your state. I've seen so many athletes actually coming out from Ogun State. What exactly is usually at the foundation of such athletes coming from your state?
Number one, let me mention it that I think the state government also contributed to the making of Toby Amusan, because and I think at one time when she needed to fund some training program abroad, the state government contributed money so they can share part of the glory. And I think that's what we need to do. There are thousands and millions of Toby Amusan in this country, everywhere. It is the responsibility of those who are managing our sports to ensure that there are competitions that will discover them. There are competitions that will expose them to those who can now take them abroad, and that our facilities are refurbished. Look at the National Stadium. Look at the money that was spent in building the National Stadium, but look at what it is now. Go to National Stadium in Lagos and see what National Stadium in Lagos is. So everywhere, those facilities, you don't even need to take them abroad. If those facilities, if you can, you know, work on them. If you go to Surulere every morning or a Saturday and Sunday, go and spend hours there and you see the interest that people have in sports.
Very interesting position you have there. The government needs to invest more in sports. We have to go on to our last topic for the day. It's a little bit of confusion in Kenya as newly inaugurated President William Ruto has deleted a tweet revoking the country's recognition of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic as an independent state. Earlier on Wednesday, Ruto had announced the development on Twitter after receiving a congratulatory message from Mohammed VI, who is the king of Morocco. Now, the SADR, as it's called, which claims the Western Sahara region is a partially recognized state agitating for total independence from Morocco. Now, what are the implications of this for Kenya and the newly inaugurated President William Ruto, who is doing all of this? And I come back to you, Prof. How could the president take such a very strong diplomatic position without even having a cabinet in place to discuss the issues? Isn't it like the first pitfall that he's falling into?
Well, first of all, I think many new governments will often have missteps. In his own case, don't forget that the leader of the, by the way, I'm not sure if it's right to call Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic a state. The United Nations still calls it non-self-governing territory, whatever that means. That is the framework. 41 countries within the UN recognize it, including Kenya, which recognized it in 2005. Now, the confusion is this. During the inauguration, the leader of the Polisario Front, which is the leader of the independence movement, yes, the leader of Gali, Mr. Gali, you know, Ibrahim Gali, was there. And he was given very good introduction as a dignitary. Now, shortly after, come the Minister for Foreign Affairs from King Mohammed VI, King of Morocco. And after that meeting, the tweet was deleted. There are speculations that the reason for that is that given the food price inflation in Kenya, that the new government is desirous of bringing down the cost of food and especially the cost of fertilizer, which they believe they can get from Morocco. Yeah, remember, Morocco. It is Morocco that is laying claim. Morocco has laying claim, it has 80% over the territory. In fact, between that area was colonized by Spain between 1884 and 1876. So from that 1875 or thereabout, there have been disputation with Morocco laying claim. So for Morocco, what Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic is to Morocco is what Taiwan is to China. So for you to go and, so God knows what they discuss, but actually what happens is that it does show something about somebody thinking on the feet. That's the thing it shows.
But I mean, he is a former deputy president of the country.
He
So what was he
it.
doing in government? He didn't learn anything.
No, he deleted.
While he was deputy.
He deleted. Who know? Even if he wanted to change policy direction, so something that had been in existence since 2005, that would have not been the thing for a man you gave who was in your inauguration. So we will see how it pans out.
All right. And I come to you just before we end the program. What do you have to say about that? I mean, you were a former commissioner yourself. Can a governor take certain positions without meeting with a cabinet for very high-level positions that you know that are very, very important? Because, I mean, there's a difference between governor and governor in council or president and president in council, and that's why we have cabinets in place.
You know, governors in Africa is almost the same everywhere. It's becoming almost the same everywhere. The value, the quality is depreciating. Like you said, a decision like that can't be taken by the president alone. It's a decision that has to be taken by the entire government. And the entire government is represented only by the executive council.
The cabinet.
So yes, the cabinet. And since he does not have a cabinet, he should have waited so that he can get quality advice. That's number one. Then, and you will see that you can see it's happening in Kenya, but you can also see that in our country there are governors who run their state through WhatsApp messages. they don't hold cabinet meetings. Their commissioners probably haven't seen them.
And it has implications.
In 4 months, in 5 months, yes.
It has implications,
exactly,
right?
Yes, of course it does. For example, any contract that is given without the cabinet sitting and approving it is illegal. Any borrowing of money that is done without the council is illegal. And banks, usually, is because they are, like I said, the quality is dwindling. Banks know that you should not honor a request for loan, for example, that is given without being backed by
a cabinet.
Exactly. A cabinet deliberation. Yeah, exactly. A resolution. Yes, exactly. So I think that the president of Kenya, he would have learned from this. But let me also mention that this also shows the importance of Morocco. Morocco is becoming a major power in Africa. In fact, it's overtaking Nigeria.
Well, a very strong point to end the conversation there. We must thank you so much, Yusuf Olanyo, who is a former Commissioner for Information in Ogun State, political editor, and of course, former media advisor to the former President of the Senate, Senator Bukola Saraki. And of course, our own Professor Jideofor Adibe is a Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the Nasarawa State University. We hope to have you when the election season starts. Like I said, I earlier on some of my programs, I just keep keeping some of you waiting until September 28th when we just have to start asking our presidential candidates the right questions. But we must thank you immensely for being on this week on Arise News Channel. That's how it's been on this show. I'm Somna Sambo. See you again next week.
34 million hectares of arable land. Over 200 million people. One nation. Home to Africa's fertilizer company. Dangote Fertilizer. Pure urea fertilizer. With one single-minded passion to feed Nigeria. Every bag is a potential, an aspiration to turn this green nation into the biggest food basket of Africa. Dangote Fertilizer.
Knowing who you are starts with knowing where you come from. We are the now and the future. We know that we live in a world that offers us endless possibilities. We'll continue to win to create when, where, and how we want. And if they ask you how we did it, tell them we only know one way to do it. We don't wait for permission. We do it now. My name is Ayo Balogun, Wizkid, and I am made in Africa.